Am I the a-hole for revealing my brother's hidden past to his fiancée after he lied to her about it? I'm Grace, 28, and I have an older brother named Nolan. He's 31 now, and when we were younger, I always looked up to him. He was the golden child in our family, smart, athletic, charming. He could do no wrong. And while I was more the quiet, bookish type, I always admired how effortlessly he could win people over. He'd always been popular, even when we were kids. He could walk into a room and instantly be the center of attention, and people just adored him. But Nolan had secrets. Secrets that he'd been hiding for as long as I could remember. And I was the one who had to uncover them. It started a year ago, when Nolan introduced me to his fiancée, Lila. She was sweet, soft-spoken, and seemed like the perfect match for him. I'd seen Nolan go through a few serious relationships in the past, but Lila was different. They'd met at work, she was a nurse at the hospital he worked at, and they had that fairy tale romance thing going on. They were engaged after only 6 months of dating, and he seemed genuinely in love. At first, I thought, great, he finally found someone who could put up with his charm, but as time went on, I started to notice cracks in their relationship. Nothing huge at first, but small things that didn't sit well with me. For one, Lila would sometimes ask me about Nolan's past, things she'd mentioned in passing, like oh, Nolan doesn't really talk about his childhood much. I'd always brushed it off, saying, well, you know how Nolan is. He likes to keep things light. But when she started asking me more specific questions, I started getting curious. One evening, Lila and I were having a glass of wine together, just chatting about life. She looked a bit more serious than usual. Grace, she said softly, I need to ask you something. And I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but, do you know if Nolan ever had any trouble in the past? Like, legal trouble or anything? I stared at her for a moment, not quite understanding. Legal trouble? What do you mean? She shifted uncomfortably. I don't know. It's just. I've been hearing some things, and he's never really been open about his past. He told me he had a tough time with some things when he was younger, but he's never really explained what that means. It's like he's running from something. I don't know what to think. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. Nolan had always been a private person, but I had never heard him speak about anything bad in his past. Sure, he wasn't perfect, but I never thought he had anything to hide. He'd always been so careful about what he revealed to others. I'm sure it's nothing, I said quickly, trying to deflect. He's probably just being dramatic. You know how he is. He's just not the type to dwell on the past. But something in the way she looked at me made me uneasy. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something deeper at play. A few weeks later, I found myself in the middle of the storm. Nolan and I were sitting in our parents' living room, having a casual conversation, when my phone buzzed. I didn't recognize the number, but I picked it up anyway. It was a voicemail from an old family friend, Jenna. I hadn't heard from her in years. Hey, Grace, it's Jenna. I'm sorry to bother you, but I think you need to know something about Nolan. I don't know if he's told you everything, but there are some things from his past that I think might be important, especially with Lila around. My heart started racing as I immediately called her back. She picked up on the second ring. Jenna, what's going on? She sounded nervous. Grace, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but you need to know. Nolan. He had a criminal record. A few years ago, he got into some pretty serious trouble with the law. There was a huge fight at a bar, and he got arrested for assault. It was all covered up, and no one ever talked about it. But I'm pretty sure Lila has no idea. I felt like the world was spinning. I had no idea Nolan had ever been involved in something like that. I had never seen him as a violent person, but hearing this, it made everything make sense. His secretive behavior, the way he kept his past so locked away, it wasn't just some bad phase he had gone through. This was something serious. Jenna, why didn't he ever tell me about this? Why did he keep it from me? I asked, my voice shaky. Grace, I don't know. I think he's ashamed of it. He's been trying to bury it for years, but I'm telling you, it's real. He hurt someone. And I think you need to talk to Lila about it before she gets in too deep. The conversation ended there, but my mind was racing. Nolan had kept this secret from everyone, his fiancée, our parents, even me, and now I had to decide what to do with this information. Should I keep quiet and let him handle it? Or should I tell Lila the truth and risk destroying their relationship? The next day, I couldn't keep it in any longer. Nolan and I were sitting in his apartment, having a casual conversation about their wedding plans when I decided to bring it up. Nolan, I started cautiously, I need to talk to you about something. Something important. He looked at me, a little confused. What's up? I took a deep breath. Lila asked me about your past, and I think you need to be honest with her. I found out about what happened to you a few years ago. About the assault charges. Nolan's face went pale. He went completely silent, and for a moment, I thought he might pass out. He stared at me, and then he slammed his fist on the table. How the HLL do you know about that? He shouted, his voice trembling with anger. Jenna told me, I replied, my voice steady despite his outburst. You lied to everyone, Nolan. You've been keeping this secret for years. And now Lila's about to marry you. Don't you think she deserves to know the truth? His face softened, and for a moment, I saw the guilt in his eyes. Grace, I didn't want to hurt her. I didn't want anyone to know. It was a mistake. I was young and stupid. But it wasn't just a mistake, Nolan. You were arrested. You hurt someone. And you're keeping that from the woman you're about to marry. What kind of relationship can you have if you're keeping something this big from her? He looked down, rubbing his temples. I don't know. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm scared, Grace. I don't want to lose her. I paused, my heart softening. Then you need to tell her the truth. Now. Because if you don't, I will. The next day, Nolan did something I never thought he would do. He told Lila everything. He told her about the fight, the charges, and how he had tried to bury it all to avoid hurting anyone. To my surprise, Lila didn't react the way I thought she would. She didn't scream, didn't cry. She just sat there, looking at him quietly for a long time. Finally, she spoke. I can't believe you kept this from me, Nolan. I've been with you for months, and you didn't think I deserved to know something this serious? I'm sorry, he said, his voice shaking. I thought I could protect you from my past. But I see now that I've been protecting myself. Lila stood up, her face unreadable. I need some time to think about this. I'll call you later. Nolan turned to me, his face full of regret. Do you think I did the right thing? I sighed, feeling torn. I think it was the only thing you could do. But I don't know if you'll be able to fix it. She's hurt, Nolan. It's been a week since the conversation, and Lila hasn't given Nolan an answer yet. The tension is unbearable. I don't know what will happen, but I do know one thing. I couldn't stand by and let him keep this secret from her any longer. She deserved the truth, no matter how painful it was. But now, I'm left wondering, did I do the right thing? Should I have kept out of it and let Nolan handle his own mess? Or did I do the right thing by forcing him to face his past? Am I the a-hole for revealing my brother's hidden past to his fiancée after he lied to her about it?